Jackie Chan sat across from the American producer in a Los Angeles office in 1980, listening to him explain what needed to change. The producer spoke slowly, as if Jackie might not understand English, even though Jackie had been speaking it reasonably well for years. American audiences need a hero they can relate to, the producer said. Someone tough, serious, not so playful. He paused, searching for diplomatic words. We need to make you more American, less foreign. Jackie nodded, understanding perfectly what wasn't being said directly. They wanted him to be less Chinese, less himself, more like what white American audiences expected an action hero to be. This was Jackie's first major American film, The Big Brawl, and already he could feel the fundamental disconnect. Hollywood saw him as a novelty, an exotic martial artist who needed to be reshaped to fit their template. They didn't understand that his foreignness, the humor, the acrobatics, the vulnerability, was exactly what made him special in Hong Kong. But he was in America now, and America had rules. If he wanted to succeed here, he'd have to play by those rules, even if they meant erasing the very things that had made him successful everywhere else. The Big Brawl released in 1980 and failed completely. American audiences weren't interested, critics dismissed it, and Jackie's first attempt at Hollywood stardom ended in embarrassing obscurity. But the failure wasn't just commercial, it was a message about how Hollywood saw Asian performers in 1980. They could be martial artists, sidekicks, or exotic background characters, but leading men in major American films. That role was reserved for white actors, and the few exceptions were expected to minimize their ethnic identity rather than embrace it. Jackie tried again in 1985 with The Protector, a grittier action film directed by James Glickenhaus. The experience was worse. The director wanted Jackie to be a standard American tough guy cop, shooting people without hesitation, swearing constantly, engaging in gratuitous violence. Everything Jackie tried to inject, humor, creative fight choreography, his signature style, was rejected as too Hong Kong, not what American audiences wanted. The film bombed even harder than The Big Brawl. Jackie returned to Hong Kong convinced that Hollywood didn't want Jackie Chan. They wanted a white action star in an Asian body. The racism Jackie faced wasn't always overt slurs or explicit discrimination. It was structural, built into how Hollywood operated. Casting directors saw Asian actors as suitable only for specific stereotypical roles. Studio executives assumed American audiences, meaning white audiences, wouldn't accept Asian leading men. Scripts for Asian characters were written as caricatures: wise kung fu masters, dangerous gangsters, submissive servants. The idea that an Asian actor could play a complex, fully human character in a mainstream American film was simply not part of Hollywood's imagination in the 1980s. When Jackie did get meetings with studios and producers, the racism showed in subtle ways. People spoke to him slowly and loudly, as if he were stupid rather than speaking a second language. They made assumptions about what he could or couldn't do based on stereotypes rather than his actual abilities. They'd compliment his English in condescending tones, surprised that an Asian person could communicate adequately. They'd make jokes about Chinese food or fortune cookies, expecting Jackie to laugh along, not recognizing these as microaggressions. Studio executives would tell Jackie directly that American audiences weren't ready for an Asian leading man, that he should be realistic about the kind of roles available to him. This wasn't presented as racism, it was presented as business reality, market analysis, just how things were. But the effect was the same. Jackie was being told that because of his race, he couldn't have the career his talent deserved, and he should accept this limitation as natural and unchangeable. The typecasting was relentless. Even when Jackie got roles in American productions, he was cast as the Asian guy. Roles that required martial arts skills and little else. His character's ethnicity was usually the most important thing about him. He wasn't playing complex human beings who happened to be Asian. He was playing Asian stereotypes who occasionally got to fight. This was the standard experience for Asian actors in Hollywood. Being reduced to race denied the opportunity to play universal human experiences. Jackie also faced the perpetual foreigner syndrome. No matter how long he'd been working in international cinema, no matter how famous he was globally, Hollywood treated him as a newcomer who needed to prove himself. White actors with far less experience and success got respect and opportunities Jackie had to fight for. The assumption was that his Hong Kong success didn't count, that only Hollywood success was real success, and until he proved himself by American standards, he'd be treated as unproven. The accent issue was particularly painful. Jackie spoke English with a heavy Cantonese accent, understandable but distinctly non-native. In Hong Kong, this wasn't an issue. He spoke Cantonese natively and dubbed his own films. But in Hollywood, his accent became a constant source of commentary and concern. Executives worried American audiences couldn't understand him, suggested voice dubbing, recommended accent reduction coaches. The message was clear. Sounding Chinese was a problem to be fixed. Jackie tried accent coaching and found it degrading. He was being asked to change how he spoke to sound more neutral, which really meant more white. The coaches would correct his pronunciation in ways that felt like they were correcting his identity. And even when he improved, he'd never sound like a native English speaker. The accent would always mark him as foreign, as other, as someone who didn't fully belong in American spaces. There was also the bamboo ceiling, the invisible barrier that prevented Asian actors from reaching the highest levels of Hollywood success. Jackie could see it operating clearly. White action stars got massive budgets, back-end deals, creative control. Asian actors got supporting roles in ensemble casts, limited budgets, no control. The few Asian actors who did achieve some success were still working within narrow confines, playing specific types of roles, never breaking through to the kind of stardom that white actors with similar or lesser talent achieved routinely. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, Jackie watched other Hong Kong actors try to break into Hollywood with similar results. They'd come with enormous success in Asia, get small roles in American productions, face the same stereotyping and limitations, and either return to Asia or accept diminished careers in Hollywood's margins. The pattern was consistent. Hollywood would use Asian talent when it served specific purposes, but wouldn't give Asian actors the opportunities or respect given to white performers. Jackie's response was to largely give up on Hollywood and focus on Hong Kong and Asian markets where he had creative freedom and respect. He made Police Story, Project A, and other films that showcased his abilities fully, without compromise. These films were enormously successful across Asia and built his reputation to the point where Hollywood couldn't ignore him anymore. But even then, when Hollywood came calling again in the mid-1990s, the old patterns persisted. Rumble in the Bronx in 1996 succeeded partly because it was a Hong Kong film released in American theaters, not an American production trying to reshape Jackie. Audiences could see his actual style, undiluted. But even with that success, studios were hesitant about giving Jackie starring roles. They still defaulted to seeing him as a foreign novelty rather than a legitimate star. Rush Hour in 1998 was the breakthrough, but even that film reflected Hollywood's racial dynamics. Jackie was paired with Chris Tucker, an American comedian, to make him more palatable to American audiences. The script made his character explicitly foreign, a Hong Kong cop coming to America, so his accent and cultural differences were part of the character rather than a problem. And much of the film's comedy came from cultural clash, with Jackie playing the confused foreigner navigating American culture. This was progress, a lead role in a major American production. But Jackie was still being defined primarily by his foreignness. The success of Rush Hour created opportunities, but didn't eliminate racism. Jackie started getting more American film roles, but they were usually structured similarly, pairing him with an American actor, playing on cultural differences, making his ethnicity central to the character. He wasn't being cast in roles that could have gone to anyone. He was being cast in roles specifically written for an Asian actor, which limited the range and complexity of characters he could play. Studios also exploited Jackie's willingness to do his own stunts while not compensating him equally to white stars. They'd use his physical abilities to create spectacular action sequences that made films successful, but his salary and creative control didn't match his contribution. White action stars who did far less dangerous work got better deals because Hollywood valued them more highly, regardless of actual talent or box office draw. The broader Asian American community watched Jackie's Hollywood career with mixed feelings. On one hand, he was breaking barriers, proving Asian actors could carry major American films. On the other hand, he was still operating within stereotypical frameworks, playing characters defined by kung fu and foreignness. Some Asian American actors and activists wished Jackie would use his platform to demand better roles, to push back harder against stereotyping, to refuse roles that reinforced old caricatures. Jackie's response was pragmatic rather than activist. He took the roles available, made them as good as possible, and used his success to create opportunities for other Asian performers. His stunt team got work on Hollywood productions. Asian actors got supporting roles in his films. He didn't challenge the system directly. He worked within it, gradually expanding what was possible for Asian performers through success rather than protest. By the 2000s, Jackie had achieved something unprecedented, genuine Hollywood stardom as an Asian leading man. But the path had required compromises that white actors never had to make. He'd had to accept being defined by his race, had to work harder for less money, had to prove himself repeatedly while white actors got opportunities based on potential rather than proven success. And even at the peak of his Hollywood career, he remained somewhat marginalized. A star, yes, but a specific type of star, never fully integrated into Hollywood's mainstream in the way white action stars were. The racism Jackie faced also extended to how his films were marketed and discussed. American critics and media often described his work as exotic or foreign, terms rarely used for white filmmakers. His action choreography was praised but also subtly dismissed as less serious than dramatic acting. There was an implicit hierarchy where what Jackie did, physical comedy and elaborate stunts, was seen as impressive but not as artistically valuable as what white dramatic actors did. Jackie's influence on Hollywood eventually helped create space for other Asian actors and filmmakers. The success of Rush Hour proved that American audiences would support films with Asian leads. Later, actors like Jet Li, Chow Yun-fat, and eventually stars like Daniel Dae Kim, Steven Yeun, and Simu Liu benefited from paths Jackie helped establish. But progress was slow, incremental, and each generation of Asian performers still faced barriers and stereotypes that white actors never encountered. Looking back, what's striking about Jackie's Hollywood experience is how much talent and proven success it took for him to achieve what white actors got easily. He was already a massive star in Asia, had made dozens of successful films, had proven his abilities beyond any doubt, and still had to fight for basic respect and opportunities in Hollywood. A white actor with Jackie's track record would have been immediately embraced, given leading roles, treated as valuable. Jackie had to prove himself over and over, and even then was never fully accepted on equal terms. The racism was exhausting and demoralizing, but Jackie rarely complained publicly. He understood that being seen as difficult or ungrateful would end his Hollywood career immediately. Asian actors had less room for error, less ability to make demands or push back. They had to be grateful for whatever opportunities came, had to accept limitations and indignities that white actors would never tolerate, because the alternative was no career at all. Now in his 70s, Jackie represents both progress and ongoing limitations. He succeeded in Hollywood against enormous odds, proved Asian actors could be stars, opened doors for others, but he also had to accept a career shaped by racism, had to make compromises that limited his artistic freedom, had to operate within systems that consistently undervalued him because of his race. His success is real and important, but it's also incomplete, achieved within structures that remain fundamentally racist and that continue to limit what Asian performers can achieve in Hollywood. The question Jackie's career poses is whether individual success within a racist system constitutes victory or whether true progress requires changing the system itself. Jackie chose the former path: work within the system, accept its limitations, succeed despite the barriers. Other Asian actors and filmmakers have chosen different approaches, demanding better roles, refusing stereotypical parts, speaking out against discrimination. Both approaches matter, but Jackie's story reveals clearly that talent alone isn't enough, that even extraordinary ability and proven success don't overcome racism, that systems of discrimination persist regardless of individual merit. And until those systems change, Every Asian actor in Hollywood will face variations of the same barriers Jackie encountered. The assumption of foreignness, the stereotyping, the bamboo ceiling, the requirement to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Jackie made it through, but his journey shouldn't have been that hard. And the fact that it reveals truths about Hollywood that the industry still hasn't fully reckoned with.